So here I am working with Niteo. I now have the long rope. I'm going to see if I can just take the long rope and clip it on him, kind of in the beginning. So generally it takes him a little bit to kind of warm up, but he's doing a pretty good job of still coming to me. And I always try to go to the eye that he is comfortable in, so that's his left eye. And starting off with the things that I know that he likes. So we touch the nose, and then I rub his face. And so he backed up a step there, but he's okay with letting me get my hand on the clip. So then I can start to mess around with the halter a little bit, tighten it up some more. And he's still pretty sticky kind of off the halter. He goes through periods where he's nice and soft, but that's just going to be a work in progress just because I haven't worked a lot on moving his feet. I've more so just worked on kind of the relaxation parts. So again, I'm going to rub his face, and I'm going to try to work down the side of his body a little bit, again working with the two hands. And he wasn't comfortable, so he decided he was going to leave. So I'm just going to ask him to come back. And again, like you can see, he can start off a little bit more reactive, and I'm going to start moving a little bit quicker, and just because he's getting comfortable. So I want to make sure I don't stay slow and stiff. I want to get him used to, the movements of having two hands on one side. And again, he's a little bit uncomfortable with this, so he feels like he should move his feet. Again, that was right after I said how he's sticky sometimes with the halter, but he is also starting to feel better now that he's gotten some more groceries as well. So here I decided, instead of trying to work around that, I'm just going to kind of ask and send him. And sometimes I feel like you have to be willing to adjust to what the horse is kind of feeling at that moment. So he was feeling a little insecure and felt like he had a lot of energy, so that's fine. We can go to kind of moving our feet a little bit more, and then I will go back and see if I can address some of the things that I was working on before, which is working with kind of getting him comfortable with two hands. And again, you're also having in the factor of the lead rope as well. Even though he's pretty good, he doesn't really mind it on the ground. Sometimes that can worry them when you have the rope on the ground, but it doesn't bother him at all, so I don't really mind it. So now he's kind of let me into that left side. And just giving him some rubs. And then when he's good, I'm going to kind of walk away and see if I can get him to soften up off the halter. And then kind of go back to what I was trying to do, and get him used to kind of the two hands on the halter. And just a lot of this is repetition and staying consistent. So even if the horse kind of lets me do it the day before, it doesn't mean he's always going to just let me do it. So we have to continuously build upon how he reacts to things, and building up his confidence, and also the trust in me. So now I'm on the right side, and I'm always mindful, the rope is long, but I'm always mindful of where that rope is. But it's handy for situations like this. Again, he felt like he didn't want to be in that situation, so fine. We're going to move our feet a little bit. And working on, he's listening pretty good for the whoa. I'm seeing if I can, anytime I can practice getting him to kind of soften off of that halter a little bit. And reward him with a head scratch. And now I'm starting to play around with using my body to see if I can get him to yield his haunches, so that was fun. He kind of offered that pretty easily. I'm going to do the same. I'll use my right hand to block. And again, getting him to soften up off the halter. And then I'm going to go back and kind of go back to rubbing the side. I'm going to play around with the rope, kind of pretending like that's the halter. So just preparing for putting the halter on and off. I like to do that with the rope. And then I'm going to use it to rub him on this side. He's wanting to kind of back away. I'm going to use my right hand. I'm going to keep that arm pretty stiff, just to help block him a little bit. Because with it being on the right side, he tends to want to put me back on the left. So by keeping my right arm a little bit straighter, I can kind of keep myself in at this 45 right by the shoulder, and I can keep him from putting me around on the left side. So when he finally stopped wiggling around, I gave him a release. And again, I'm moving a little bit faster. Actually, showed a little bit of nice leg yield there. And again, he wanted to leave, but used a little bit of yielding and got him to soften up off the halter, so that was much better. Instead of when he would just kind of bulldog and stick his head down and run away, he's getting a little bit softer off that pressure. The bugs are just bothering him today. He's just a little bit more uppy than he has been, but again, he's starting to feel better. He's starting to get a little bit more calories in him, so you often will see them start to wake up a little bit. So I gonna go ahead and brush his mane, and again, it starts to all gradual. And then there just comes a point where you have to start then going in and moving a little bit quicker. And he's handling this really well. And I like to use part of the grooming as part of their routine. And so see there, just getting him to move off the halter a little bit. And never really like pulling or yanking, just it's a steady pressure to where then as soon as he comes off of it, then there's the release. And again, this can be a bit therapeutic, just sitting there brushing the mane. He was a little sensitive the day before when I was working on it, so it's been a process to get him to let me brush the mane because I think he thought it tickled a little bit, but he's okay with it now. making sure I can comb out all of the tangles that were in them. And this is good because he's letting me, be on that right side for a good amount of time. And he's feeling, for the most part, pretty relaxed. He might inch a little bit, but he does tend to inch sometimes. So I've noticed he's got kind of bugs bothering that left front. And being in Florida, you have to be pretty careful because you can get what's called summer sores, and it's carried by the flies. They carry these bugs, and so it can be pretty frustrating. But now I'm just going through and working on using the brush and seeing how much he'll let me touch him. So he's actually doing really well here. Letting me get into those hindquarters. I think he's starting to realize it feels pretty good. And for the most part, he's been the type of Mustang that if he's uncomfortable, he just wants to leave the situation. He hasn't really been super sometimes they can be a little bit more expressive with their feet and their hind legs, but he really isn't that way. If he's uncomfortable, he's gonna leave. So here I'm going to start working on touching down the leg to see how far I can get. And you see I had SWAT in my hand. So that is a fly ointment that I was working on. If I could get it on the boo-boo so I could kind of keep the flies off of it, and then I could work on getting a bandage on that. But he's just not quite ready for me to do it, put the bandage on right now. So I'm going to see if this will give me a little bit more time. You see I put it around all of his eyes. And I'm just going to try to work my way down. And he's doing very good. He's handling it really well. And I have the loop a little long, so that could, if he wanted to run forward or strike, he could get the foot caught, and then I would lose the position that I was in, but I'm okay for this time being. And so right there, when he stood still, I took the pressure off, just because he gets kind of inchy and moving, and so sometimes I have to go and give the release when he just wants to stand still. And that time he let me touch it. And I'm just trying to make sure I can get that ointment on the boo-boo. And actually that's getting a lot better. Oh, he saw the fly spray bottle. So he decided to leave. Which again, that's okay. I'm just going to ask him to come back so I can introduce him to the new object. And he's just not sure with how that's looking. But this is how I like to kind of teach them, let them investigate it and then take it away. Make the sounds. He does tend to be a little sensitive to sound, I've noticed. But now he gets to see it in his right eye. And then what I like to do is, again, like spray it so they get used to the sound. Then sometimes if you have one that's super reactive, you might want to have a bottle that just has water in it so you don't waste your fly spray. But he's being pretty good, and I figure he's going to sort it out pretty quickly and realize that it's just misting water and not a big deal. So there, as soon as he stood still, I took it away. So I was pretty happy with what I was able to accomplish for this day. I was able to get fly spray on his, or the fly ointment on his foot, and get a little bit of a fly spray on him. And then unfortunately my phone died shortly right after this, but he was a very good boy from where we started.